by combining certain ideas from Chinese philosophy with Marxism. And in my own reading of Mao, the way he talks about the class structure of Chinese society, very clear and lucid and interesting, and you can see the way his mind works. He's not mindlessly, imitating Marx and trying to reconstruct Chinese society using simply, using Marx's categories. He sees the difference between the way Marx talked about class structure in Europe as compared to China. So I think there are so many ideas and thinkers outside of the West that there's so much for us to explore.
Question is again about how we define the localness of knowledge. For example, I guess I have to explain that in addition to being a former filmmaker, I'm also trained in humanities. So in the field of gender studies, for example, then it is always this military debate whether they were or they are local knowledge of gender and sexuality, and whether they, Western theoretical concepts can be used to discuss local conception of gender and sexuality, right? So my question is that local knowledge does change from time to time, right? So again, that's so I guess I'm just a little bit ambivalent about how we engage in the decolonial project without reifying locality and localness of knowledge.
I think we have to avoid thinking in terms of binary opposites, the local and the Western. There is a local situation, but if you're looking for local knowledge, let's say you're looking for local conceptions of sexuality, what has to be avoided is adopting a textualist approach, going back to classics and looking at the conception of sexuality, and then assuming that people today think in terms of what is understood as sexuality in classical Chinese words, or in classical Confucian words, or whatever it is, right? Or in classical Islamic texts. We have to avoid that textualism, because Taiwanese today is the culture of the Taiwanese today, the social psychology of the Taiwanese today is a result of many hybridities, actually, right? And that is what the local is. So it's just like the Pan-Africanists, people like Fanon and many, they did not say that we're going to reject Western culture or we're going to reject colonial culture. They recognize that we are, as Africans, we are of African origin, but we are a product of many cultures. We're a product of Francophonic culture. We are Francophonic, but we also have African heritage. But their conceptions of the world, that some of their conceptions of the world are westernized, and that is what they are. So you need to recognize what you are and build your concepts and ideas from that ground, and not from some idealized pre-colonial past which you are no longer part of.
But no, you first, and then after you.
It's actually not
really a question, but a reflection about the living in such conundrum that what Professor Tsai has been saying, that how do we understand our own limitation? And we can't really, we cannot really overstate what kind of levels can we achieve in decolonial work. Because when we talk about camera, filmmaking, universities, social science, nation state, and when we ask a student what field he is from, this is actually very Western. And it really returns to what you say, the world itself is Westernized. So we are living in such world, then we have to accept the fact that we are living in such world. And I think it's also related to what Fernand pointed out, the English question. So we have to live with it, and we are so accustomed to it. And for younger generation, I think it's different because maybe for your father's generation, during that time when the world was still that, I couldn't say because I didn't live it, but maybe he saw alternative. So he can propose such kind of thing, but we are living in such world that it seems that there's no alternative to it. If we want to do decolonial work, we have to do it in university, it seems, in the discipline of humanities or social science, and within the framework of information state. So, so I think this is the conundrum that how can we actually produce something outside of this notion of modernity, and even before university was established, what kind of knowledge do we have, and how did knowledge work in a society, and for whom that the intellectual circle have been producing such discourse for who and for what. So I think how can we actually realize that this is actually a problem before we or accept that we have to live with it.
Well, the thing is, you can't artificially withdraw from this world, right? And isolate ourselves from this world and create another society. Even if we could do it, it would be an artificial society, right? I think we have to accept our identity as it is, and draw upon traditions that are available to us, but hybridize our, be conscious about this process of hybridization. We are all hybrid, we're all Creole actually, or as we say in Malay world, Peranakan, and that applies to the Westerner as well. The Italian today is not the same as the Italian 500 years ago, right? But they're not problematizing their identity. We, because of having gone through colonialism, are problematizing our identity. But I was just thinking about the analogy from food. Right? Now, I like, one of the dishes I like very much is fried noodles. Okay? But I don't like, I don't like the way the noodles are made, because usually the noodles are made from rice. I prefer wheat. But if you want wheat noodles, it's basically pasta, right? So what I do is, I have fried noodles, the Malaysian style, but using pasta, using spaghetti. Right? Now I'm not obsessed with, well, this is not really Malaysian fried noodles because it's using spaghetti. It's hybrid, right? And a good chef, well, I'm not a chef, but a good chef doesn't say that I'm only going to use local material, right? A good chef is interested, and that's how our food has evolved. If you look at our food, in Malaysian food, the influences from everywhere. Of course, from this part of the world, from China, from East Asia, especially Chinese food because of immigration of Chinese over the centuries, from India, from the Arab world, and then because of colonialism, from Portuguese and from British, and to some extent even Dutch food. And that is what we are. The attitude is not, let us purify ourselves of all the foreign elements, including the Western elements. That's not the attitude. The attitude is, let's recognize the hybridity the Creoleness of our cuisine, of our music, and further develop it, and be comfortable with our identity. And I think we should take the same attitude with regard to developing the social sciences.
So actually what I wanted to say is, on a pessimistic note, is that there's actually no alternative. When we say that we can imagine an alternative to capitalism, it seems that...
Okay, so I was talking about knowledge creation, right? Where I think there are endless ways of creating alternatives. If we only had the time, and we're not obsessed with KPIs, and with publish or perish, there's endless ways we can, you could just spend a lifetime developing the works of Rizal. One scholar whose work has been, very little work has been done in terms of developing decolonial knowledge is Pramudia Anantatur. Pramudia's work is very interesting. His whole, his Guru Quartet, which is a series of 4 novels, is actually a reinterpretation through literary media of Indonesian history, beginning with the pre-colonial and then ending with the colonial period. Over 4 novels. It's a reinterpretation of Indonesian history. But people haven't worked on his writings to create that kind of decolonial knowledge. In every society, in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, there are these local scholars and writers, male and female, whose work we can work on to create decolonial knowledge. So that's possible. It's more difficult to imagine alternatives to capitalism. But the reason why it's difficult is because we are so much embedded in Eurocentric knowledge. Eurocentric knowledge is mainly about the perpetuation of this system. But if we look at alternatives, they are out there. I don't know whether when Mignolo was here, did he talk about the Zapatistas? He uses that example a lot, right? But closer to our, closer to you, you have the Sarvodaya movement in Thailand, which is a radically different conceptualization of ecology, of economy and ecology. You had, you also have a Sarvodaya movement in India. But the experiment in Thailand is very interesting. It has to do with, it critiques the Western notion of conservation. See, for example, you have capitalist demand for cash crops. That results in people moving away from subsistence farming to slash and burn. The slash and burn results in deforestation. And deforestation brings its own problems to the ecology, right? Including landslides and stuff like that. But the slash and burn and the cultivation of cash crops also means that the farmers, the peasants, start borrowing money and they get indebted, so it creates indebtedness. So to solve the deforestation problem, you have a Western solution and a decolonial solution. The Western solution is make it a national park, right? That means nobody is there. Because the Western solution, according to some of these authors, very interesting what they say. The Western solution assumes that the native is passive. He doesn't have anything to do with nurturing the environment. So make it an empty nature park with wildlife, that's it. Right? The decolonial solution is look at indigenous knowledge. So in the case of Thailand, in northern Thailand I think it was, they're looking at the Buddhist approach to ecology. Combination of the Buddhist approach with respect for the ecology, with respect for trees, respect for animals, and also the role of local spirits, right? So you need to pay homage to these spirits in order to maintain that balance, right? I think this is very interesting. Regardless of whether you believe in that or not, it's another matter, right? But there is an approach. and you study local methods of agriculture, including the cosmological, religious, spiritual aspects of it, in order that the local those agricultural practices do not result in degradation of the environment. Now, this is not only something that that people have considered. It's actually going on. These experiments are going on. So if you look throughout the world, you will find that people have not only imagined alternatives, but they're actually putting them into practice, although on a small scale. But we need to realize that these experiments are going on. That's why I was asking about the case of Taiwanese Aboriginals.
Yes.
They also have these kinds of experimentation going on.
Yeah, thanks very much for your talk. I'm wondering about the hierarchy among the non-Western knowledge that I think it is also one of the problems we're facing nowadays. For instance, when we talk about we want to conceptualize from a non-Western perspective, and some major countries or major civilizations will be prioritized, and especially if this phase working in the West normally will be okay. Let's have a work about China. It's usually like this. So I categorically refuse to do so. And then most of my former colleagues will be advised by the supervisors. Well, for your own future, let's work about China. So everybody needs to do something related to China. So how do you solve this kind of